Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Buzz here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We are joined today, as always, Jeff Theis, local journalist, Paul Van Beek from Winona Radio, and Ty Schwartzlow from HBC. And we'll start out today by saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Minnesota Vikings were destroyed by the Green Bay Packers. Teddy Bridgewater didn't play. It was Christian Ponder, and Christian Ponder does what Christian Ponder does, and so the Vikings lost. Ty.
Man, a depressing start to the
sorry,
Sports
that's just the
Buzz.
truth.
You got to watch Christian Ponder. A few takeaways from this game. However, I'm not putting too much stock. Thursday Night Football, again, I don't think you saw the best of the Vikings. Obviously, Bridgewater is out. I do think it marks the end of the NFL career of Christian Ponder. He's going to be out of the league sooner rather than later. And for this Vikings team, they just need to get healthy. With Greenway as well as Kyle Rudolph, I think those two are some key missing pieces. But in terms of the division, this thing's up for grabs, man. This is the most tight division in the whole league, I would say, that in the AFC North. I could see any one of the four really coming away with it, and that's my takeaway.
Perhaps the Vikings got a little false hope in that Atlanta game by beating the Falcons, who have kind of fallen apart. But there's not a lot to take away because of, as you said, Christian Ponder just being terrible, not being able to complete anything or getting it close to sometimes to people. There are a few things that if you're a Viking and a Packer fan, obviously if you're the Packers, you got to like the fact of the way they ran the football compared to what they have earlier in the year. On the Viking side of things, it's continuing where at times they're having trouble stopping the run. And even as bad as Christian Ponder was, that still doesn't mask some of the defensive problems that they had in that game. Now, in the first half, I didn't think they played that poorly defensively. They gave up the two quick scores, but after that, I think they had a stat that in the first half, Green Bay had 5 3-and-outs. The problem was the defense was always on the field because the offense couldn't move it past the 50-yard line, for God's sakes. But offensively, you really can't take a lot out of it just because it's the quarterback difference is so big that you really can't take anything out of it offensively. But defensively, I think there are some things they do need to clean up.
Yeah, with the Vikings, I just when I look at it, I just throw it out because with the way Christian Ponder played and how he played, it just brought the whole thing down. And I think the Vikings are going to look at it that way too. It's like defensively, I don't think they were that bad. Like the Packers had those 2 drives where they scored early, but the rest of the half, the Vikings relatively didn't allow any points. They had the pick 6 and then the another Ponder interception gave him the ball inside the red zone. So it's like you can't really fault the defense for that. And in terms of the defense, giving up stuff in the second half, it's more of, you could say they were broken down physically by being on the field so much and mentally just knowing that their offense was just awful and weren't going to do anything for them. Right. So I don't think the defense was that bad. Sure, you could correct some things, but I wouldn't say the sky is falling for them. It's just, if Teddy Bridgewater, or to a lesser extent, hey, Matt Castle's not playing, the Vikings are losing hope, and that's why Christian Ponder is 3rd string. But if Bridgewater's going to be back, I'd say things should look a little better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, we only have about a minute left in this segment, but any stock in what Brian Robinson said, that maybe some of the guys on the defense were giving up towards the end of that game?
I believe it, no doubt about it. On Thursday Night Football, that's what we've seen, and this isn't just related to the Vikings. 179-44 has been the total score of these Thursday night games. There have been no comebacks. The team that scores first is going to win on Thursday night, so I don't dismiss the fact of these guys giving up. The game is over. Ponder's in throwing picks. Let's just rest up and get ready for next week on a long week, the one positive of Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that they kind of gave up because they knew that they weren't going to come back at that point because Christian Ponder obviously wasn't playing well and the offense wasn't going to score that many points. So I think just naturally you almost not give up, but become demoralized and not play as well.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe not give up, but they just weren't maybe 100% there just due to the situation.
All right, we kind of led into this, but this whole thing about the Thursday Night Football, now Arian Foster has come out saying he doesn't like the Thursday night games and he doesn't think anybody else does either because the short turnaround, there's 3 days rest before they have to play again. What do you think about these matchups?
I kind of agree with the players that it's a little tougher on the players to go from Sunday to Thursday, but I guess I'll speak to the pros of Thursday Night Football just to be a little different here. One, it adds another day of football to the week, and it's something to look forward to and something to watch. And that's not a bad thing. And two, every team usually gets a game, so it's kind of like they don't. Usually, if you get one Thursday night game, that's it, and that's more of a competitive, equalizer to say, hey, everybody's getting a game instead of just a handful of teams or something like that. So yeah, and then plus at the end of the Thursday night game, they get 10 days rest too to their next game at least. So it's not all bad, but yeah, the games could be better this year.
Well, why couldn't they do it? And this obviously you wouldn't be able to do this every week, and maybe just cut down the amount of Thursday night games. So why can't they do it when the bye weeks come, that you have a bye prior to playing Thursday, and just have teams that have a bye, and that way they don't have the short week. Now, obviously that's not going to help at the beginning of the season, but maybe you don't have Thursday night games at the beginning except for week 1 until the byes come, and just have teams come off a bye.
Yeah, I really think the solution here is to not have Thursday night throughout the entire season. You have every one of these teams, and it comes off as hypocritical. You have the player safety issue, and you're making them go out and play. I like Paul's idea. If there's a bye week before, I can get behind it a little bit. And I like these Thursday night games, having it on a different night of the week, but the quality just is not there at this point. As I said, 179-44, you're watching for the first quarter, and by that time, it's over. You can stay in and continue to watch, but at a point, the game has been decided, and Thursday night, I think it needs to be rethought in a more limited capacity.
To add on to Paul's idea too, you could maybe add another game like Friday night if you wanted to, or something like that. Like you could have multiple games during the week if you're coming off a bye week, so it doesn't technically matter what day you're playing. So yeah, you could add another day and another big day of ratings too if you wanted to. If you're the
Well, I think they're trying to do Thursday night to stay away from the high school night on Friday, and they don't do Saturday games to stay away from the college. And so Thursday's basically the only day.
Certainly everything's something to look for here as the NFL season gets over this year, and we'll take a look at it for next year. We're going to take a break here on the Sports Buzz. We're going to add a segment to the Sports Buzz that's coming up right after this. And welcome back to the Sports Buzz. We are on Twitter at SportsBuzzHBC, and you might want to get that ready because we are adding a new segment here on Sports Buzz. It's the Rant of the Week. Jeff Theis, you have the first rant. You have 30 seconds.
All right, there are a lot of things that irk me about the game of baseball. Length of games, the no salary cap, Harold Reynolds. But there's one thing that gets me in particular, and that's champagne celebrations. Theoretically, the San Francisco Giants and Kansas City Royals could have 5 champagne celebrations for advancing in just a month's time. When I look at this, I look at other sports, especially football, where when they clinch their division or a playoff spot, no celebration. Well, there might be celebration in the locker room to some degree, but no champagne celebration. When they advance to the divisional round, no celebration. When they advance to the wild card round, no celebration. And then when they get to make the Super Bowl, there's the celebration. In baseball, it's a 162 game grind. That's where I get it. If you make the playoffs, celebrate away. You've been at it for 7 months, but to go past the wild card game and the division series, those celebrations seem kind of a little moot to me. So a little too much. I would say 3 at most. So to go to the World Series and win the World Series, I would accept.
So you're painting a ridiculous picture. The Royals advance to the ALCS, and what are they supposed to do? Celebrate and be happy, but at the same time take care of their... What difference is having a little bit of champagne or not make?
The San Francisco Giants have won 2 of the last 4 World Series, and they're going to do the same thing.
So if you've been there before, act like you've been there before, but if you're the Royals, celebrate.
But that's why I said you can celebrate after you make the playoffs. Like, hey, you made the playoffs, 162 games. Heck, the wild card game too. I'll accept that.
So now you're just picking and choosing where you can pick champagne. It's supposed to be a moment of jubilation. Let the emotion overtake the situation.
Why don't they do it in other sports then?
Because of the long nature of baseball. 162 games, that is a long
That's why I said
season.
Celebrate when you make the playoff, like when you clinch a playoff spot. Hey, you were at it for 7 months. You deserve a celebration no matter who you are, if you're the Yankees or the Royals.
Okay, we're going to have to cut it off right there. Paul, you can have the next rant next week, so get ready for that.